Ever get the feeling like some stories just go way deeper than what you see on the surface? Kind of what we're doing today, diving into this 2008 film, I Can't Think Straight, how this love story tackles these cultural complexities in this very specific community. And what's really fascinating about this particular film is that it takes this very familiar setup, a love story, right? But then it just infuses it with all this weight, cultural expectations and things like that, totally. So it's less about a predictable romance and much more about like this woman's journey, her struggle to figure out like how to balance her own heart with the world that she comes from. And we get to just kind of dropped right into it, right? We meet Tala. She's our main character. She's this young woman from a very wealthy Jordanian family, living in London, running her own business. Okay, she's like the picture of modern independence, right? But then the film's like, hold on, there's more to the story. It quickly pulls back the curtain, and we find out that she's actually preparing for her 4th engagement, arranged of course. So talk about a world of contrasts. And that's where the film really kind of digs into that central conflict, right? It throws us right into this clash between like, what are traditional values and what does modern life look like? Especially when we think about the tradition of arranged marriages in certain cultures, it's really important to keep in mind that, in these communities, family lineage, social standing, huge, can be just as important as love when it comes to, who are you going to spend your life with? Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Tala, she's got this modern life in London. She's independent. She's got her thing going, right? This web of cultural norms. Leyla enters the picture. Leyla's this aspiring writer. She's of Indian descent. And it's like throwing another, like a wrench in the works. Totally, yeah. Adds a whole other layer of cultural dynamics to everything. Right? And okay, their first meeting, it's not love at first sight, but they spend more time together. Tennis matches, they're at the polo fields, there's this weekend getaway, and something starts to change. And this is where I think the film really starts to use those visual metaphors and things. This whole Garden of Eden thing that keeps popping up, especially with Tala and Leyla interested. It's this really powerful way to show that their love is like forbidden, right? Like they're stepping outside of what's considered acceptable, not just by their families, but by like the whole culture. And you see it visually too. Their meetings are always in gardens or these hidden places, their own little Eden. So it really emphasizes how restricted they feel in their everyday lives. It's like they found this little pocket of freedom, of like real connection in a world that seems determined to keep them apart. We all know a good story needs conflict, right? Daniela's definitely grappling with some stuff. It's like this constant pull between these feelings she's developing and these societal expectations that are so deeply rooted. It's like you can feel the weight of those expectations on her. And I think it's important to remember that her struggle goes beyond just, being in love. It speaks to this whole idea of family honor that's so central to certain cultures, and it all kind of explodes. I mean, not literally, right? When Tala's mother catches her and Leyla, well, let's just say at a very compromising position. That's a game changer. I mean, talk about a way to shatter the carefully constructed facade that Tala's built around herself. I mean, she's engaged, she's playing the part, trying to, but Leyla's presence just blows it all wide open. And the film does this amazing job of using these, like, visual cues to just turn up the tension. The way Tala interacts with Leyla versus Hassini, it's night and day. Stolen glances, these hesitant touches, subtle but powerful. Their body language just screams what they can't say out loud. You're right there with them, feeling that unspoken energy. Tala, her mom had just caught her and Leyla. Talk about a bombshell, huge. And it's interesting, you'd think she would just, like, embrace everything white. But she doesn't. She keeps trying to play the part, going through with all the wedding stuff, like nothing happened. But you can just tell, it's eating her up inside. Yeah, it's like she's trying to convince herself this is the life she's supposed to live, the one that'll make everyone happy. Like, universal thing, right? Feeling torn between what everyone expects and what feels true to you. We've all been there in some way, for sure. Yeah. And it all leads to this huge moment. Her wedding day, everyone's gathered, everything's set. Oh man, the tension. And Tala has to decide, right, this life-changing decision, that's a lot of pressure. And what's fascinating is that before she even faces her mother, who we know is very traditional, she goes to her father. So she tells her dad she can't go through with it. Big moment, huge. Just like shatters the perfect life she was trying to pretend to have, showing us that we have the power to make our own choices. Now, while all this is happening with Tala, Leyla's dealing with her own stuff. Can't forget about Leyla, navigating her own family, their expectations. It shows us that, like, cultural norms, they affect everyone no matter who you are. And the film does this amazing job, like, showing us, not telling us. Remember when Leyla takes that picture of her and Tala out of her wallet? That small gesture spoke volume so much. Heartbreak, fear, those tough choices we make because of what others might think. You could feel Leyla's struggle in that moment. It's like both of them have these intense feelings, but their own fears on top of everything society throws at them, it just creates this huge wall between them. Such a powerful image. So Tala's call off the wedding, had it out with her dad, goes back to London, back to her life, back to familiar ground, trying to at least, And guess who she runs into? Leyla's ex-fiancé. Talk about a coincidence? What are the chances? And he drops some news. Leyla's single, are broken. And get this, what? She wrote a book. It's like a whole new chapter is about to begin, and the tension is thick when Tala shows up. It's like all this unspoken energy between them. Longing, maybe regret, maybe even a little hope. Yeah, you can feel it. And then, finally, they talk. Finally. And Tala says it, she loves her. The moment we've all been waiting for, right? So much emotion. But even then, it's not simple. Leyla's cautious, and rightfully so. Can Tala really handle this? I mean, Leyla's been through it, right? Yeah. Coming out to her family, the good and the bad that came with it. She knows how hard it is to be true to yourself. She doesn't want half of Tala's heart. She needs someone who'll be there no matter what. So the question is, will Tala step up? Will she choose love over everything else? The stakes are high, so high. And remember that unsigned book? The one with just I love you written inside? Does Tala stay or walk away? Such a cliffhanger, unsigned, just I love you inside. Is that Tala's way of saying, this is me, take it or leave it? Or is it like a goodbye letter she couldn't even sign? It's such a powerful way to end the film, right? Because it makes you think. Real life doesn't always have those neat little endings. It's messy like this film. It's kind of brilliant when you think about it. It sparks this conversation, not just about love or relationships. The film makes us examine our own biases. It makes you think, how do those same cultural norms shape how we see love? Exactly. And how do we create a world where people can just be themselves, love who they love, without all that pressure? It reminds us that every love story is unique. There's no right way to do it. It's messy and complicated. That's what makes it real though, right? That's what makes these stories stick with us. They reflect our own lives back to us. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder all that. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, keep diving deep into these stories that make us think differently.